Hello, welcome to our class. Today we continue talking about conditionals, more specifically the subjunctive. But let us begin first with conditions in conditional sentences. Let us analyze what you have here. If your brother is lonely, he should join a singles group. What do you have here? Here you have a conditional sentence. What do you have at the beginning? The if clause. What do you have at the end? You have the result clause. If this condition is met, it is to say if your brother is lonely, you say that he should join a singles group. In other words, if this is happening, then he should join a singles group. Here you have a conditional sentence. But here you have something different. Pay attention to this. Your brother may be lonely. That is one sentence, okay? Now let us look at the rest. If so, he should join a singles group. What do you have here at the end? Here you have a conditional sentence. You see the if, but you don't see the rest. You don't see subject and verb. So what do we have here? Look at this. Listen to this. Conditions and conditional sentences are sometimes implied rather than stated directly in an if clause. How is it understood? Let us continue studying this topic. Something else that I would like to add is this. Conditions may be implied by using but, for, if not, if so, otherwise, with, without, etc. Let us see another example so you understand this better. Look at this. Here, you state your opinion. Mary needs to be part of the decision. Okay, that is what you think. That is what you say, that she needs to be part of the decision. Otherwise, she will never be happy. Here you have a conditional sentence where it is implied here in otherwise. You can say the same thing using a conditional sentence. It carries the same information. Look at this. If she isn't part of the decision, she will never be happy. Okay, here you have the if clause, and here you have the result clause. If she isn't part of the decision, she will never be happy. This conditional sentence is implied here using otherwise. Otherwise, she will never be happy. Okay? Now, as with other conditional sentences, the condition may precede or follow the result clause. Look at this. With a little extra information or with a little extra communication, you can fix the problem. You can fix the problem with a little extra information, with a little extra communication. So here in this part, you have the conditional implied. It can be at the beginning with a comma, or it can be at the end and there is no comma. Okay? So if you have a sentence like this is a conditional. How come it is a condition? I don't see any if. Okay? The condition is implied. Okay? And that is the point here. Now, let us say something about unreal conditions. Here you will find a very interesting variation. Unreal conditions with had, past perfect, should, and where are sometimes expressed by deleting if. So you delete if, and then what do? You invert the subject and the verb. Okay? you do two things. Number one, you delete if, and then you invert the subject and the verb. Let us look at one example. Hope that you will like this. Now, listen to this. If I had known he was lazy, I wouldn't have chosen him for the group. Okay, look at the variation. We omit if, and we change the position of the subject and the auxiliary, and then you say, had I known he was lazy, I wouldn't have chosen him for the group. This variation is interesting, okay? Use it, and then you will show that you can play with the language, that you have more knowledge, okay? Here we have a conditional, but somebody may say, hey, how come it is a conditional? I don't see any if clause. Yes, it is implied, okay? You deleted the if and then you inverted the subject and the verb, but it is still conditional sentence. Now, if there is an inverted condition, there is no change in the result clause. Look at the example. If I were to accept the job, I would insist on benefits. Now, let us have this variation. What do? We omit if, and then we change the position of the subject and the verb or the auxiliary. In this case, it is the verb be in the past tense. So you have if I were, and then the variation is, were I to accept the job, I would insist on benefits. Okay? Now, you have to be careful. Negative inversion is formed by adding not after the inverted verb and the subject. Don't contract not and the verb. Okay? Now, let us take a look at the common conditional. If I hadn't received the phone call, I wouldn't have been able to help. Variation, we omit if, and then we change the position of I and had, and then you say, had I, okay? But remember that the not is after the inverted verb and the subject. So the negative form would be, had I not received the phone call, okay? No contraction. Look at this. It would be a mistake. Hadn't I received the phone call? Nope, nope. There is no contraction, and the not goes after the subject. That is something that you have to remember. Okay? Now, the subjunctive is somewhat uncommon in English. However, one common example is the use of where in unreal conditions. Look at this. If I were you, I would visit my parents more often. We could go on a picnic if it weren't raining. Okay? And something else to be careful with. This use of where occurs only in present and real conditions. It is not used for past conditions. Look at this. If I were there, I would help her. If I were there, I would help her. Okay? What is that? This is a present and real. I am not there. Okay? I am not there. If I were there, I would help her now. So we're talking about present and real. Look at this. You do not have a combination of a present idea and past. Okay? Past situation. So it would be incorrect to say, if I were there, I would have helped her. No, that is incorrect. Okay? The correct form would be, if I had been there, I would have helped her. Okay? Past participle, and then would plus have plus past participle. Okay? So there is no combination of a present and real situation or condition and a past situation. That is something that you have to remember. Now let us continue. Another form of the subjunctive uses the base form of a verb in noun clauses. And this is also something interesting. Look at this. Here we have the main clause, we recommend. And here you have the noun clause. Recommend what? That he see a lawyer. But look at this. He, third person, and see, base form. How come? Well, that's the way this subjunctive is. We recommend that he see a lawyer. That is the correct way to say it. And for this, be careful. The main verb in a noun clause can be past, present, or future. So in other words, this recommend can be in the present, in the past, or in the future. But the subjunctive verb is always in the base form. Look at this. Look at the examples so you understand better. We recommend that he sell his house. Okay, that is the correct way. This is present. Now look at the past. We recommended, past tense, that he sold his house. Nope, that is incorrect. Okay, no matter. You may have here present, past, or future. The subjunctive is always in the base form, not third person singular, not past or future. It is always in the base form. When you use the subjunctive, when you use a verb like recommend. But there are some other verbs, and we will see them in a little while. Okay? Now let us review. Let us see the same thing using our charts. More conditions, the subjunctive, implied conditions. Okay? Now look at this. This is the non-standard condition. With a bit of luck. Now, this is the same as if I were saying, if we have a bit of luck, we can fix the problem. Okay? We can fix the problem. The condition is here if we have a bit of luck, but we can say the same thing, saying with a bit of luck. Okay? We can fix the problem. Without your help, I wouldn't have succeeded. Okay? This is a way of expressing a condition not using if. You may also say the same thing if you said, if you hadn't helped, I wouldn't have succeeded. Now look at this. But for his investments, he'd have no income. In other words, if he didn't have investments, he would have no income. Okay? Now let us look at the other example using if so. Okay? Remember that this is the same as if the person were saying if she is lucky. Okay? You combine this and this, it is the same as if you were saying if he doesn't get the chance. Now, but let us look at the sentence. She might be lucky. If so, she'll meet some new friends. What do you mean? What I mean is this, that if she is lucky, she'll meet some new friends. Look at this. He might get the chance. If not, he won't take a job. What do you mean? I mean this. If he doesn't get the chance, he won't take the job. And another example using otherwise. She is lonely. Otherwise, she wouldn't need company. What do you mean? I mean this. If she weren't lonely, she wouldn't need company. Okay? So, you can use this. You're stating a condition with, without, but for, if so, if not, otherwise. But what do you have here? Okay, you are implying a condition. Okay, even though you don't have if, you are implying a condition. So when you say with a bit of luck, you mean if we have a bit of luck. Okay, that is something that you have to remember. Now, let us continue with inverted conditions. Here we have the standard condition, and here we have the inverted condition, and here we have the result clause. It doesn't change. Remember, the result clause doesn't change. So you may say this, were he in love? What do you mean? If he were in love, okay? Here you have a recognizable conditional clause because you have if. Here you have omitted the if and you have changed the position of the verb and the subject. But anyway, this is conditional. Were he in love, he would get married. Negative, were he not in love, he wouldn't get married. Remember that the not goes after the verb and the subject. Now look at this, another example. Had I seen her, I would have called you. Had I seen her, I would have called you. What do you mean? It is the same as if I were saying, if I had seen her, I would have called you. So you have inverted the condition, you have omitted if. And the last example that we have here, should we do it? In case we do it, should we do it, we will celebrate. What do you mean? If we should do it, if it happens that we do it, in case we do it, we will celebrate. Okay? So you can use the standard conditional or you can use the inverted condition. If you want to use the inverted conditions, you have to do two things. Number one, omit if. Number two, you change the position of the verb and the subject. And you start with the verb and then you say, should we do it? Were he in love? Had I seen her? Okay? And remember, I'm going to say it again, the result clause doesn't change. Now, the subjunctive in noun clauses. Verbs of advice, necessity, and urgency, any of them, okay, plus subjunctive. Look at this. Here you have the main clause, and here you have the noun clause. And look at the verbs that we have here. Suggest, demand, insist. Let us look at this sentence. Frank's teacher suggested that he take. Here it seems to me that there is a mistake because we should have here he takes. No, it is correct. It is a subjunctive, okay? When you use a verb like this, remember that we use recommended? Okay, here we have some more. When you use suggest, demand, insist, you need here a subjunctive, and the subjunctive doesn't take conjugations. She leave, we leave, they leave. It doesn't change. Here you have the base form, okay? Here you are talking about Rosa, and Rosa, you may say, that is a third person singular, and then here it should be arrives. No, this is subjunctive. When do you use the subjunctive? When you have verbs like suggest, demand, or insist. Now let us read the sentences. Frank's teacher suggested that he take an additional class. The boss demanded that Rosa arrive at work by 9. The fireman insisted that she leave the burning building immediately. Okay? Things to remember. recommend, suggest, demand, insist, noun clause, base form of the verb. Okay? As I told you before, it is not very common, but it is important for you to know this so you don't make a mistake or you understand properly what other people are saying. Now, let us continue. You can also have the subjunctive after adjectives of advice, necessity, and urgency. So when you have an adjective like this, advisable, or mandatory, or urgent, remember that they are adjectives after a linking verb, and then you have a noun clause, then you have something like this. It is advisable that he arrive. Arrives or arrive? It is arrive, okay, because it is a subjunctive. There is no conjugation. The verb is in the simple form. He arrived, no one enter, she call, okay? It is not she calls. Why? Because it is after an adjective like urgent, mandatory, advisable. Now let us read the sample sentence that we have here. It is advisable that he arrive 1/2 hour before the appointment. The other one, it is mandatory that no one enter the building without a permit. And the last one, it is urgent that she call home at once. That's it. We have come to the end of our lesson. If you find it a little bit difficult, just in case, okay, watch this video as many times as you wish. That would be all for today. Bye.